People often tell us to be more confident, as if confidence is something we can simply decide to have. But what if confidence isn't something we create? What if it's something we accumulate? Every conversation, every setback, every success, every disappointment, every risk we take, every challenge we recover from. Whether we realize it or not, we're constantly collecting evidence about ourselves. The question isn't whether you're accumulating evidence. The question is, what story is that evidence teaching you to believe? Welcome to Deals with Heels. I'm Debra, your host, and this is where we go beyond the surface level of business, leadership, and sales and into real discussions that shape how we grow. Today, I want to share an idea that has been evolving for quite some time. It started as a conversation about confidence. It grew through the years of consulting, coaching, and working with leaders, and it became even clearer after dozens of conversations on this podcast. I used to think confidence came from success. Then I thought it came from experience. Today, I think both explanations are incomplete. So where does confidence actually come from? When I thought about it coming from success, it's not that that doesn't contribute, because it does. But what actually accumulates? Is it the success itself, or is it our evidence and belief in how we were able to achieve it? For me, that evidence that we accumulate is that we can handle whatever life throws at us. And that's why it builds from more than just success. It builds from failures when we learn how to do a better way. It comes from every obstacle we encounter in our business or our job search or our day-to-day lives. It comes when we trust ourselves enough to handle no matter what happens. And that confidence and trust in ourselves also transfers into confidence other people have in our abilities and in other people's trust, because they accumulated about us also. And confidence isn't certainty. Confidence comes from two places. One, it comes from, can I do it? Am I competent enough to do the thing? And trust. I trust that no matter what happens, I'll be able to deal with it. Those two things create confidence. So when we're building and we're accumulating confidence, we're compounding it. Then we compound that from everything. But it's more than just what happened. It's how we think about what happened, how we feel about what happened. So if a campaign doesn't work, or if we don't get chosen for a position or for a leader of an assignment, then how we look at those things determine what kind of evidence we accumulate. Are we accumulating discouragement, or are we accumulating lessons and knowledge and ways to move forward? Are we accumulating emotional regularity so that I know I can get through anything and hold my mud, that I'm not going to lose it every time something happens? Because that is what evidence looks like. And not just evidence that we teach ourselves, but evidence other people see in us. And experience is really what it comes down to. Humans naturally accumulate evidence in everything that we do and about other people. We accumulate evidence that builds trust, whether that is, I was able to do this and this and this today, and I feel great. Whether you're looking at another person and you were able to confide in them and not get pushback, get real listening and consideration and advice. Are we able to have difficult conversations and trust that the person we're having them with is going to hold that conversation also with us, be able to have it and not be triggered emotionally with me? And when that happens, we build trust in the other person that we're with. And as leaders, we build trust in the people that work for us. Are they capable? Are they able to do it? And then when we look at a leader and we think about whether or not this person is ready for the next role, ready for the next stage in their career, what are we looking at? Do they have the capacity to do things in a new way, to look at a problem in a more enterprise way, for example? Or are they stuck in their thinking that is departmentalized? So if you're an HR person and you've come to the very top of the HR leadership and you want to become a better enterprise leader, so you step into that next level of executive leadership, and are you able to handle it and look at it from a perspective other than HR? Because you need that background that you have, but you have to be able to open it up into the next level of leadership, which is different than what you have been doing within your own department. Sometimes we look at a leader and we decide maybe they don't have the capacity for that yet. They need a little bit more evidence accumulated in order to really feel it. Maybe we think they're capable of it, but they don't truly see themselves in that role yet. They haven't built confidence yet. So they need to accumulate new evidence that teaches them that they can trust themselves to handle leadership at the new level. So the meaning that we assign to our experiences is very important. If we think everything is the end of the world, then that's the evidence that we accumulate. And I think we've all been around people, whether that's relatives, whether that's coworkers, whether that's friends and acquaintances. We have been around people that accumulate negative evidence. And their glass is half empty. They look at everything through the lens of negativity. And I'm not suggesting that everything be butterflies and flowers. What I am suggesting is that we all have skills and experiences and lessons that we've learned, and often we underestimate them in ourselves. So telling that story and understanding how you tell it, when you not just tell it to everyone else, but when you tell it to yourself, is incredibly important. That you frame it in a way that builds confidence, that compounds it. Now we have a new lens to view life through, and we're looking at evidence, not emotion. We don't want to compound emotion. We want to compound the evidence that we see and frame that evidence in the point of view that builds confidence and trust within ourselves. So we accumulate the meaning we assign to those experiences, and that's why two people can live through the exact same setback, and one leaves believing, I can do hard things, and the other leaves believing, I am not enough. Why does this keep happening to me? The experience is the same, but the evidence that they carry forward into the future about themselves is vastly different. So how does confidence compound? When you think about compounding, I always think about interest, and they compound interest, especially on loans, which means they add it every minute, every day. They recalculate it, and that adds more if they're paying you interest or if you're paying interest. So if you think about confidence in the same way, it compounds. Once you get a little bit of it, that gives you the confidence to try new things. And now those new things build it even further. And recovery builds more confidence than success, because that second part we talked about, building confidence, where you trust yourself enough to handle everything. If you only have success, then you only have evidence for being able to handle success. It takes challenges. It takes obstacles. It takes overcoming those again and again to compound that confidence, one thing on top of another, layering it really for our whole lives. And that's what builds that level of confidence within us. It's not as simple as, oh, well, you should just be more confident. Well, if we could all turn a switch and just do it, then we would. But it just doesn't work that way. It's also about learning to process instead of react. So often, instead of process what happens around us, we react emotionally. And often we regret those emotional reactions because they come with outbursts, but they're also really painful. And if you stand in that emotion, then it's difficult to solve anything. And we've talked about this on the show many times before, that when you are emotionally dysregulated and you're reacting to everything, you're in fight or flight, and your blood flow in your body is different. And so we don't always make great decisions when we're emotional. And when we're emotional, we can't trust. We can't trust ourselves. We can't trust other people. So learning to trust yourself through uncertainty is how confidence is built. Not with success, really not even with failure. It is every single day the things that we do that are uncertain to us. We encounter things we're not sure about every single day, and we make our way through them, no matter what that is, whether that's setting an appointment with somebody and we've never done that before, whether that's mowing the lawn, whether that's calling on a client or writing a proposal or building an event, whatever it is in your life. The first time you do it is scary. The next time you have experience of yourself being able to get through it, so the next time it's easier. And then that compounds one on top of the other until you have a great deal of confidence. And not only do you have it in yourself, other people can feel that and they have confidence in you as well. So trusting yourself through uncertainty is really key to building confidence. And with every step, with every compound, you build a case for your own capacity. And capacity is our ability to do something. Do I have the capacity to do the task? Not just physical capacity. Can I physically do the work? Do I have the emotional and mental capacity to be able to handle the stress that goes with the work? And I see that a lot with founders and entrepreneurs. They get to a certain point and they've built confidence because they could do the thing, no matter what it is. If it's roofing, they can build roofs. If it's advertising, they can sell advertising. So whatever it is, they build confidence in their competence, in their ability to do it. But building a case for capacity, now that builds, because capacity is about handling more. It's about handling things that are different and expanding our experiences and what we're used to. So building a case for your own trust and capacity is essential for compounding confidence and building trust in ourselves and trust that others can have in us as well. So we talked about confidence and how we build it and where that evidence comes from. And then we talked about compounding it, and that confidence compounds because evidence compounds for the good and the bad. So even if you fail, even if you navigate uncertainty, even if you don't get it right the first time, those can build confidence too, because it wasn't as bad as I thought. I learned valuable lessons, and now when it comes up again, I'm going to be better. Those things build confidence. So every time you add another piece of evidence, you're proving that you can handle whatever comes your way. So my question for you is, what evidence are you collecting about yourself today? That realization really changed the way I think about leadership, sales, and growth. People aren't simply making decisions based on today's circumstances. We're making them based on the evidence that we've accumulated over time. Think about when you were a student, which is a long time ago for me. But if you think about it back then, if you pass a test or you fail a test, now when the next test comes, you've accumulated evidence. If you failed the first test, you don't have confidence you're going to be able to do this one. You have a little bit more confidence because you studied differently and you're building evidence. You made it through that test. So you're able to sit down and take the test at least. You have confidence in that. And then if you pass it this time, now you have, look what you've learned. You've built evidence that you had something difficult and you didn't rise to the occasion the first time, but you didn't give up either. And then when you did it again, the next time you succeeded. So you didn't just build evidence that you could take the test. You built evidence that you could overcome adversity, that you could study and learn a different way, and that you can succeed. And that is where confidence comes from, overcoming that big thing and being able to do it the next time. And then when the next test comes, you have more confidence walking into it because you accumulated it over your failure and your success. That's how evidence builds. So we can't forget the story that we tell ourselves. Story is important for your business. I talk about it a lot. What story are we telling them? Where is the story? Sometimes I meet with a business and I can't feel the emotional story that they're telling, and that's important. But with us personally, we're all telling a story to ourselves about whether we're good, whether we're successful, because we have all these expectations built up, not just from society, but from ourselves as well. So that's why growth is so personal. Even when it's professional growth, even though it's your business's growth, it's personal because all of the evidence that piles up is about the personal story that we tell. That's how we determine confidence in other people as well. What evidence are we building up about them? And is that evidence building trust or is it raising questions and doubt? And you're in control of that story when it's about yourself. So what evidence are you building and what story are you telling yourself? Because confidence isn't something that we build. It's something we help build in other people. Every conversation, every coaching session, every difficult discussion, every word of encouragement that you pass on, every moment of honesty. When we choose to be honest with someone, that's vulnerable for us to do, and it builds trust in that other person. We're adding to someone else's evidence, and evidence about ourselves, but also evidence that we're building about the other person. So if you're building evidence about the person in front of you, guess what? They're building it about you as well. So that comes across in how you tell your story and how you treat their evidence that you're collecting. Every moment that we have is important. And the question isn't whether you're influencing people, because you are. You're influencing them every day in your words, actions, and deeds, and how those things make another person feel. And we've all had a conversation with someone where they told us, thank you, that made me feel so much better about myself. And it makes us feel good when someone says that to us. It does me for sure. And now I kind of understand why a little bit better. And now when I'm having a conversation with someone that is having a bad day, struggling through an obstacle, really faced with uncertainty, then I'm going to communicate with them in a way that builds evidence, positive evidence for them, not just encouragement, but help them find that evidence within themselves as well. So, before I go into closing, I want to tell you a story about my mom. Those of you that have been listening for a long time have heard other stories about my mom, but this one really relates to this topic. She was diagnosed with stage 3B lung cancer when she was 79, and it was really scary. She was facing really seemingly insurmountable odds. They gave us less than a 10% chance she would live 1 year. She ended up living almost 5. And during that time, she accumulated a lot of evidence. Evidence about herself, because she had lots of hard treatments, lots of hard conversations. She got better slowly. And when the cancer returned almost 5 years later, she said, "I've beat cancer before. I'll beat it again." And that wasn't optimism, and that wasn't delusional thinking. It was trust. She trusted her capacity to do it again. And I was there when she did it the first time, and it was horrible. It was horrible. It was scary. There were side effects that she had for the rest of her life. And the evidence that she built within herself was beyond that. She didn't build evidence that it was awful. She didn't build evidence that I don't think I'll ever be able to get through this. She built evidence that I can do it. I did it. I'm proud of myself. Each of those things that she survived, whether that was the effects of chemotherapy or the lasting effects of radiation damage from the radiation treatment, she was able to get through them. She built confidence in me as her caregiver. And then we all built confidence in her. The more her doctors accumulated evidence about her, about how strong she was, about her commitment to get better, her attitude after a big scare. Each time she made it past one of those health scares, the doctors built evidence about her capacity to get better, her capacity to heal through the struggle. And at the end of her life, you could see it in those doctors' faces and in their words that they told me. When she went home with me 2 years into her treatment, she was finally well enough to where she could go back to her own home instead of live with me. And it was kind of bittersweet. I think neither one of us really wanted her to move, but she also wanted to go back to her own place. She was a very independent woman. And I think that was part of it as well. But the small town that I grew up in, people would drive by our house. And that county has pretty high cancer rates and not great results, I'll be honest. And so Mom surviving something that feels very insurmountable, it built up trust and evidence in the townspeople. And they would drive by her house and yell, "Way to go, Juanita. Keep it up. You're giving us all hope." Sorry, it chokes me up a little bit to talk about my mom. But that added even more evidence for her. They didn't stop even and talk to her. They just told her that she was helping them. And that built even more evidence in her capacity to do it again, to survive, to endure, to not just survive, thrive. And in many ways, my mom was happier after she got sick. So I wanted to tell you about that because it's an easy illustration to see how all of the evidence compounded within her, evidence of her own ability to get through it, the story she told herself, the story I told her when she was getting better, the story the doctors told her, and seeing their trust in her ability to get better grow as well. Then the town that she had lived in virtually her entire life, to see them have confidence in it too and see it inspire her, that, friends, is the perfect description of compound confidence, how the story builds within us and how it builds in other people as well, and how those beliefs affect us. So whether you're building your own with the stories and the evidence you're compiling, or whether you're building it for somebody else, we become part of the evidence that other people accumulate. If today's conversation resonated with you, if it changed how you think about confidence, leadership, or the experiences that shape your growth, then my work lives beyond this podcast in your growth. Thank you. I help business owners and leadership teams understand the human side of growth because every strategy, every decision, and every relationship is built on trust. And trust is built one interaction at a time. If you're looking for a place to start, I've created a free resource called the Human Sales Playbook. Because every conversation is an opportunity to build trust with your customers and with yourself. You'll find the link in the show notes, along with links to my websites and to my LinkedIn, which is the best place for you to connect with me. So as you go through your day today, think about, what kind of evidence am I building within myself? Until next time, everyone, stand strong in your power, especially when it gets uncomfortable. See you next week.